lead developer here. We'll welcome everyone to the meetup. Tonight we've got a great presentation by Josh, one of our forum users. He's going to talk about some behavior methods and things you might use like an RTS or a tower defense game or such like that. As always, you guys can ask us questions after we get done with the presentation. The format usually is we'll do the presentation, then we're going to do the questions for the presentation, and then you can ask general questions after that. We're happy to field questions or have big, long discussions about whatever kind of interesting stuff. You know, it's open format, just kind of like the forums. We can talk about all kinds of stuff. All right, well, I will turn over to Josh and let him go ahead and talk about RTS type stuff.
All right, thanks, Alan. Okay, so today we're going to be building a template, like Alan said, it's a mechanic for for an RTS game, or you can use it for a tower defense like Kingdom Rush. What it does is individual actors track or determine which enemy actor is closest to it, and then attack that. Once their enemy dies, then it searches through a table and finds the next closest enemy to it. And so here's the finished product. I'll give a playthrough. Can everybody see my screen okay? Yeah, so what's happening is, it's pretty fast, so I'll pause it right here. The blue team or army is on this side, the green team or army is on this side, and they determine which enemy warrior is closest to them, their individual self. And then they attack it. And how I came up with this was a couple weeks ago I was thinking how I could make an RTS game, real-time strategy game with GameSalad. And I always got stumped on how do I make the individual warrior determine which enemy is closest to it in a big battle. You would have to read other actors' self-attributes, which would mean you would have to have the warriors unlocked already, which would really be complicated and hard to do with a lot of different actors. So I came up with this template trying to accomplish this, and now I'm going to show you guys how to create it from scratch. So this uses searchable tables, magnitude functions, and a couple other in-depth GameSalad like rules and behaviors and stuff. So to start, we're going to create a new project. We're going to put it in iPad landscape. And this mechanic is actually a pretty simplistic. It's pretty simplistic as far as game attributes go and actors. It only has 2 actors. It doesn't have any game attributes. It has a few self attributes in the actors. We're going to start by creating Team 1. And we're only going to create 1 actor for now because Team 2 is pretty much just a duplicate of Team 1, except a few behaviors are changed to make it Team 2. So we're going to go in here. We're going to change the size to 40 by 40. And the color to blue like we had it in the finished product. And now we're going to go out into home and create 2 tables. These tables are going to hold the attribute or the XY coordinates for both teams. So this will have the XY coordinates for Team 1, and this one will have the XY coordinates for Team 2. We'll go in here, and it'll have as many rows as actors that you have in that team. So now we're not going to have more than 15. So we'll make 15 rows, and it's going to have 2 columns because X coordinate and Y coordinate. And we're going to make these integers because for some reason when you do searchable tables, at least for me, it kind of glitches up and you can't do the exact value in searchable tables if it's a real attribute. So we'll just stick with integer, and that works perfectly fine. 15 rows and 2 columns, integers both. Now we're going to go back into the Team 1 actor, and we're going to establish some conditions. So when we'll make a group and label it on creation. So this is when the actor first gets created. Now we know that it needs to determine in its table which row it's at so it can record its XY coordinates. So on creation, we're going to change attribute, and we're going to make a self attribute now. So we'll go down here, hit the plus button. It's going to be an integer is fine. And we're going to label it row. So this is self row. This is the row that it's going to be writing its XY coordinates to. So change self row to, now this is when we plug in a searchable table function. So we go down here, table search, and now at first it looks intimidating if you haven't used searchable tables before, but it breaks down pretty easily. So right here, the table, we're going to plug in team1 table because this is team 1. So we go into game, and actually I probably should have labeled these tables like specifically tables with like a TB in front of it, but since we don't have any game attributes, this will work fine. You won't get confused. So team1 table, and the key, we're going to be searching for 0 because it's going to find the first row that's empty, that doesn't hold an actor. So it'll find the next empty row and then claim that row for itself. And the key will be 0. Put that in quotes. And we'll be searching a column. So we'll plug in column here. And the targeted column will be column 1. We'll be searching which row in column 1 has a 0. And we'll set that up to make that signify that it's an empty row. And the starting range on row starts from row 1 all the way. We'll make it easy just in case you change like how many rows there are in the table. We'll make that table row count. So we'll go down here and table row count. We'll have to plug in our table again. Table 1. So that goes from row 1 all the way to the maximum number of rows you have in that table, all the way to the end row. And now we're looking for the exact value, so you just select all this within the quotes, just put exact there. So it's looking for the exact value of 0. And then that will give you which row. And it'll assign its self row to that and claim it for its own. Now we need it to write its XY coordinates to that table row. So because you can't constrain table values, we're going to use a timer to pretty much do exactly what a constrain attribute or behavior does. For some reason my computer, there must be a button clicked down here. So we're going to drag in a timer here, and every time the game goes through a cycle of code, which is 0.03, then it's going to change the change table value to table team 1 and self row, which is its current row, and column 1 will be its x coordinate, so change that to team 1 position x, and then then you just hit this plus button here to add another column, and column 2 will be its y coordinate, so value self position y. So every time it cycles through the code, you'll pretty much be constraining its xy coordinates to column 1 and 2 of its designated row. Now that tells where it's positioned. Now it needs to find where an enemy would be positioned. So we're going to go through. I have a reference project file here, and we're going to make it find its target. So we're going to make a self-attribute boolean called findTarget. And when that's true, we'll set it to true right now because as soon as it spawns, that needs to be true. It needs to find its first target. When that's true, it needs to find the closest enemy to itself. So when self-attribute findTarget is true, then we're going to use a loop over table behavior. So we're going to drag that in. L. Loop over table behavior. it's going to loop over table team 2 because now it's looking for the opposites team closest actor. So it's going to loop over team 2 table. It's going to go over the rows. So it's going to be checking all the rows that are filled with XY coordinates because those signify what enemy warriors are on the map. And the start index will be first cell, and the end index will be the last cell. And now we need to store the index in an attribute because we need to see what index it's currently on, what row it's currently searching at the moment, so we can create rules to react to that. So we're going to create another self attribute, and we'll make that an integer, and it's going to be we'll call it search index. And so now we're going to plug that right into this slot right here. Go to search index. Okay, now within this loop over table, we're going to, one second here, we're going to use the magnitude function. So we're going to create a rule. We're going to use the magnitude function to compare the XY coordinates of the given row and column values that is looping over at that moment to see if it's closer than its current target. So if those current rows are closer than the other rows that it looped over beforehand. And that might make more sense if we go through it right now. So we're going to actually choose numeric expression in the rule section and hit expression. We'll go down here and hit magnitude. Now we're going to plug in, this is a bit complicated, but what we're going to do is take its self x position. So it's comparing its self x coordinate to the current table x coordinate of which the enemy warrior is writing to. So self position x minus table cell value, go into and plug in team 2 table. The current row will be the search index. Let's see, go into self search index, and then the current column will be 1 because in our tables we designated the first column to be x coordinate and the second column to be y. So now for the y coordinate we'll do the exact same thing, self position y minus table cell value table team 2, it's jumping around here, and row the same search index, and column 2 now because it's the y coordinate. And so that finds determines how far away the current enemy warrior that it's looping over is, and so it compares that with one second. I'm not sure. It compares that with, I'm not sure if I'm looking at the right thing. It should be comparing that with the, oh, okay, so we need to make a couple self attributes because it's going to write the current target XY coordinates. So it's determining if this target that it's looking at, if it's closer than the current target already. So we're going to make 2 self attributes. They're going to be, we'll make them reals. So it'll be target X and target Y. And this will be its current target's XY coordinates. So now we go back to this rule here, and we plug in another magnitude, which just searches, it compares its self X coordinate minus target's X coordinate, and then self Y coordinate with the target's y coordinate. Okay, and then and the condition is if the target, where are we? If this is less than the current target, then that means the distance is less than its current target. So it will then assign the target row to a new row, the current row that is on. So we're going to make a self attribute here. It's going to be an integer, and we're going to name it target row. And now in this condition, it's going to change target row to the current search index row that we're looking at now. So it determined that it needs to target a new target because it found that it's closer than a previous one that it had recorded before. So yeah. And now let's put this right here in a group just to organize a little bit. It's going to be called gameplay. So this is during gameplay. And this is finding a target. Now we're going to create a move behavior to move the actor. And it will be just a move behavior. We'll drag it up here in gameplay. And the speed, we'll make a self attribute so we can easily change the speed without digging in the code. So movement speed, we'll name it. Right now we'll set it at 100. And so we'll plug that right into here. Self movement speed is at 100 for now. And now the direction will be a vector to angle function. So vector to angle, the direction will be target x minus self position x. Oops, I forgot the minus there. And then target y minus self position y. And that will move in the direction of its current target relative to scene. Yeah. Okay. Now, I'm a little bit scatterbrained here. Currently, oh, sorry. Okay, sorry guys. Now we're going to make a rule to track the so we'll create a rule here, and now we're going to create a self attribute called actually it needs to be a boolean. Self attribute boolean called track target. So when this is true, down here, when track target is true, then it needs to constrain the target x self attribute to the current target table value, because it's pulling the xy coordinates of the enemy from the table into its self attribute so it can read it straight off of there. So we'll have constraint attribute self table self value team 2, because it's looking at the enemy row, or sorry, table. And then row will be, go back to self attributes, row will be target row. And then the column, since its x coordinate, will be 1. And now we do the same thing for target x coordinate, except we modify it to fit with the x, which will be column, or sorry, the y, yeah. So target y to column 2, because that's the y coordinate. Okay, so now when at the beginning, we need to make loop over table. We need to put this inside of a rule to make sure that it's not its first time finding a target. Otherwise, it'll mess up a little bit. So we go to self attribute and say if target row is greater than 0, then do this. Otherwise, just assign the row automatically as the first target. Because if target row is 0, then it hasn't found a target yet, and it'll be looping through the actors. So that first actor that it loops through as the enemy, it needs to assign as the target. Yeah. I'm just going over the code to make sure we can copy this actor and establish the team 2 actor, because okay, we need to establish when it dies. So when this actor dies, it needs to send back a value of 0 to its current row to just tell it that it's empty now and a new warrior can take its place. And so how we do that is we can create a new rule down here. And let's drag these into gameplay because this is also gameplay. Okay, so we're going to create a self-attribute boolean called die. So when die is true, then it needs to write to its table, so change table value. Current table will be the team 1, and the row will be self-attribute row, and the column will be 1 because we're just changing the first column, the x coordinate, to 0 to tell all the other actors that that column is now empty. And then we're going to destroy the actor because it died. And now in a game, if you're implementing this template, you can make the death conditions whatever you want, and then just change self-attribute die to true. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to create a rule and just say when it collides with another actor, then it's if it just collides with an enemy, then it's going to die. So we're going to create a rule here, drag it in. Collides with actor of type team 2, but we can't do that yet because we haven't created this second actor. But we'll easily plug that in later. So when it collides with actor team 2, then it changes attribute self die to true. Self die to true. Okay, I think we're ready to duplicate this actor and make a team 2 actor. But before we do that, we're going to hit track target to attribute to true because we need it to track the target immediately. Okay, so now exiting this actor, we're going to hold alternate and drag it to create a new actor. We're going to name this actor team 2. Now going inside to change the color so we can easily identify it, we'll change it to green in this case. And now what we have to do is breeze through and change everything that says Team 1 table, change that to Team 2 table, and everything that says Team 2 table, change that to Team 1, because it's on the opposite team. So going into the first change attribute self row, we're going to change Team 1 to Team 2, and Team 1 to Team 2 again. And going into here, this change value, we're going to change it to Team 2. And going into the loop over table behavior, we're going to change the magnitude function to Team 1 because now it's searching the Team 1 table to find which enemy is closest. And yeah.
Don't forget the loop itself.
Oh yeah, and the loop, thank you, Braden. Change that to Team 1. Because, yeah, now you're looping over the Team 1 table. Scrolling down to the move should be fine because, yeah, those are stealth attributes. Constraining attribute, change this to Team 1 and Team 1. Oops. And then this change table value to Team 1 again. I mean Team 2. Yeah. Okay, I think everything's looking good. Now down here in the death conditions, we need to say overlaps or collides with actor Team 1. That's good. But in the blue actor, it needs to be actor Team 2. So we'll go into the blue actor and change that to Team 2. So when it collides with the enemy actor, it announces itself as dead. And then it will clear its spot on its table and then destroy itself. Now, I think we can give this a test. I'm trying to remember if I forgot anything. I'm going to go through the reference table and see. But yeah, as I was saying, this template, it might seem really complicated at first, and I might be a little bit confusing by the way I'm building it, but it can be really useful for a lot of different app types. Because essentially what it's doing is reading self-attributes from other actors without having to have any actors unlocked. So it's using tables to read and write. And so I can see how that can be very useful for a lot of different app types. Looking here. I was trying to determine if I should, on this conference call, if I should build the whole thing from scratch or just go through the code and review like how it works and everything. And so I obviously went with making it from scratch, but with something this complicated, there's a few small things that can really wreck the whole thing if I forget them. But I say let's give it a try, let's give it a whirl, and it might not work immediately, and hopefully we can find out what's wrong. But I think it should work pretty well. So we're going to drag the actors onto the screen. We'll start with just 3 each. And so different coordinates here. Now we're going to... Yeah, Braden reminded me to save it. It's untitled, but just... Okay. Now let's give it a preview. And as you can see, they are really freaking out, and I think I know why. They're all going to the coordinates 0, 0, which, of course, is not what you want them to do. So going into the actor, I think the problem is in the loop behavior, when it's searching over the rules and it's trying to determine which is closest, I think
The magnitude isn't the same as
I don't know why. Oh, well, yeah, that shouldn't matter. One second, sorry guys. I think in here, okay, because the self-target X and self-target Y don't have a value yet, I think I have to assign or read straight from the table itself, the current targets table. So we're going to go into table cell value. We're going to go in, this is team 1, so we're going to be looking at the team 2 table. The row will be current target row. So that will be target row. And the column for X is 1. And then do the same thing for target Y. We'll replace that with table cell value. That's freaking out a little bit here. Table team 2 again. And row target and column 2 for the Y. Let me see here. And of course we have to do that for the other actor as well for it to work. That's true. I can just copy the rule, but as custom. So I'll drag that in here. Although, yeah, it might be easier just to, but I'm trying to decide if that's exactly what we want. Now what is this?
Mouse positions.
Wait, I'm not sure how this rule got here. I think I accidentally created a rule when my computer was glitching up a little bit, so pull that out. Okay. We're going to create one more condition here on this rule when target X is 0. Does not equal 0, sorry. Yeah, when it does not equal 0. Then assign the target row. Alright, I'm going to give it a try.
Yeah, let's do it together.
Yeah, we'll see if it works for the blue actor first, though. Okay, I think it's working for the blue actors. Now we're going to do the exact same thing for the team 2, and I think it'll work. So going down here, we're going to create a new condition when target X is not equal to 0. Then do it as long as target row is greater than 0 as well. And then in here we're going to table cell value table 1 now, table team 1, row row self target row column 1. And then in here, in target Y, we're going to do table cell value, the same thing, except for the Y coordinate. So table team 1 and row target row and column 2. Now I really hope this works. Check, make sure. Okay, yeah. For some reason, I don't know why this rule popped up in here. I think it's when I was clicking to create rule and it didn't react. It was creating a rule in there. Okay, hopefully I haven't confused you guys too much, and hopefully this is going to work. All right, let's give it a preview. And no, it does not work. Okay, let's see. Obviously missing something. Bear with me, guys. Sorry. Okay, on creation we need to create one more change attribute where change target X to self position X so that it travels in a straight line at the beginning, and I think that helps with some of the code here. Let me see.
You're also missing this entire.
No, I have that further up. Wait. No, I have it. Yeah, that's for assigning. Okay, let's give it a try here. Core location. I think that should work. Oh my goodness. 1 second. Let's see. What is going on here? Something missing. We have this. Let's see.
This isn't too long. You can't figure it out. Just go to the original project.
Yeah, it's really weird. I can't seem to figure it out. Let me switch over to the original project and explain the rest, and maybe we can find out from there what I missed here. So this is the original project. That works. Preview. They target each other. Let's go into this actor. And so obviously I have the collide behaviors here. That's more for visual effects. Doesn't really mess with the code too much. Going down into here, we have the record location, which was the constraining of table values for the XY coordinates. My computer's glitching up a little bit. But down here in the behaviors, we have it tracking the target and the attacking the when it collides with the other actor. But down here, it has another condition that says if target dies. So this is checking if target X equals 0, that means its current target no longer exists, which means it dies. Then it needs to change. Then it needs to search for a new target, right? And so we have a self attribute here that says find new target. And so when target X equals 0, then it's first to make sure that it kind of works like a switch, where it turns find new target to false, and then one code cycle later it turns find new target to true, which then up here makes the actor loop over the enemy table again to find the closest target once again. So find new target is true, then loop over table, team 2, and finds another target. I see here might have been the problem where sometimes when you're using tables, if the index row or the row is, when you plug in an attribute, if it's 0, then that cell value doesn't exist and it'll break the whole game. And so here I see that I put a rule to make sure that it does not equal 0. So if index row is 0 or is not 0, then execute all this code. But if it is 0, then don't execute this code at all because it'll break the game. So maybe if we try putting that condition into our project file over here, that might do the trick. So when we go into loop over table, click on this rule and then hit create rule again. And so when target X does not equal 0, then execute this code. Otherwise, it would mess up the whole game. It would kind of glitch it up because it's looking for a cell value that doesn't actually exist. And I've found that to be a problem with a lot of different projects that I've worked on, where the whole game is like messed up. I can't find out why. It turns out that a certain attribute that's plugged into a table is messing up the whole system. So hopefully that was the problem. Let's compare code a little bit more. And I'm in the Team 2 actor, so I'm going to swap over to Team 1 as well and do that really quick before we forget. Because these two actors are pretty much identical, they're just on opposite teams. So all we're doing really is swapping the tables that they're looking at. So if they're looking at if Team 1 was looking at Team 1, we'll swap it to Team 2. If Team 1 was looking at Team 2 to find the enemy, then obviously Team 2 needs to look at Team 1 table to find the enemy. Alright, let's create a rule within this rule on the loop over table and do the exact same thing. So when target x does not equal 0, then execute. Okay. Now let's go over to our original template that we know works for sure. And let's go down here and look at the code and compare it a little bit because I might have forgotten something. I think this is mostly code for finding the new target, so let's give this a try and pray it works. Here it goes, preview. Okay, so one actor's working, or two of them are working. It's really odd, because that can really make or break the whole thing if a wrong attribute is in there. Let's see. Why would only one be or two be working? Let's look at this code here. Okay, that shouldn't be there at all. But did I? Oh yeah, it should be. Okay, let's see. Let's go over to the original really quick. And so I hope you guys can follow along here, see where we're at. The original is right here, and the project we're working on is right here, and so we're at the exact same point in code. Let's see if there's a mistake we can, or something I slightly forgot. Because oh. No. We'll try making this rule here and plugging it into our project. Okay, so what it's doing, what we need to do here is create another rule. We need to tell this loop, or find out when this loop stops, when it's at the very end, and then it needs to start tracking the enemy. So we're going to create another rule and drag that into, or just drag that beneath the loop behavior. Make sure it's not in the loop over table behavior. And it says if search index, so when the current row that the loop is on, when it equals the table count row, which means it's at the end row. So table row count for table 2, team 2. Then we need to, let's see what it does over here. Then we need to find new target to true. For here we just had to find our track target. Or actually, wait. track target to true. Sorry, not find new target. So for our project, we had it ticked already, which might have messed something up. I thought it would be fine to just have it search right away after it goes through one rotation. But obviously something's wrong, so hopefully that's it. So we're going to create a rule within that says pretty much use track target as a switch. So change self track target to false. Or sorry, find no track target to false, yeah. And then, or change it to, we'll just change it to true in here. And in this rule, we're going to have a condition where when target row is greater than 1, so target row is greater than 0, then change track target to true, false. I hope this works, guys. If it doesn't, I apologize. I didn't know it would be so crazy to try to recreate it on the spot. Let's see. So 2 of them are working, and the other 3 aren't. Other 4 aren't. Yeah, I think you guys get the main idea. I probably should have tried to recreate it beforehand to make sure that it was doable on the spot, but I can't seem to find out what the problem is. This original template is available for free on the forums. I posted the link so you guys can look at the code and hopefully, and maybe if you're following me through this webinar, maybe you can find out what's wrong. I have a feeling it's like a small thing with, I'm not sure, but yeah. So, yeah, I think I'm going to hand it back over. Is there anything you guys want me to specifically cover? Any questions? Any explanations for things? Because I know this was probably pretty quick and confusing, but I hope it was helpful to some of you guys.
Thank you, Josh. Yeah, so if you might have any questions, you can either raise your hand, we can put the audio on, or if you have a question, just type it in the question box here. Sorry, we're getting this stuff over here so I can. There we go. All right. Okay, well, you might got any normal questions or anything else? Since I don't see any questions here for Josh specifically.
Yeah, I actually just have a comment on this code. If you integrate this code with the pathfinding algorithm, you could do something like use this to determine which enemy to fight, and then use the path to move your guys over maps with like terrain and such, so you could have them move around hills and whatnot. It would be a good combination, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's a great idea.
And with a little work, we could have a StarCraft plane.
Yeah, pretty easily. I think it wouldn't take too much work to actually get a StarCraft kind of game or any other kind of
or Diablo.
Command & Conquer or Age of Empires.
Sure, Command & Conquer, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, not much to work, like only a few more behaviors and.
Yeah, you just need like you might want to do something like instead of just finding the nearest one, have attributes so so that you can say, give like a threat level to various enemies. So it may pick target the enemy that's closest, but within a certain area, but also has the biggest threat level, kind of deal. So yeah, you could do some really cool stuff with it.
Another thing I thought about is that you could, the amount of times you update the table, you could use to change difficulty level on the different enemies, make them easier or harder.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So Richard Thurman says, great job on a pretty complicated idea.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of bummed that I couldn't get it working from scratch, but yeah, if you haven't already, guys, check out the original template so that you can actually like see the working code. Yeah. And thanks for letting me talk here. I consider it a privilege, so yeah.
Where's the link to the original here so I can post the original? Forms. Should have this. There we go. Let me copy that. So you might have any other kind of questions or general questions or discussions, or Tan put some surveys up? Let's see if that works. I can't remember how we send the audience. Racially quiet. You got some surveys, Tan?
Alright. No question? Survey?
I think it was surveys.
You'll find the surveys real quick. Oh. Let's do... Read you some old questions.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I'd like to comment on something that Dan said earlier. Dan? His name's Dan? Josh, sorry. Josh said earlier about the table values not working if they were real values, because when you compared the numbers, they never came out equal. Yeah, you should generally never compare real values for equality. Basically, due to precision errors, the odds of two real numbers, unless you're literally assigning one number to another and then immediately comparing the two, the odds of two real numbers being absolutely equal is incredibly small. Even if you're doing, computations like, simple computations, you could end up with two numbers being, the same up to, the fifth significant digit and then varying on the last one. So in general, when you're comparing two real numbers, you should either compare if just straight if it's less than another number or greater than another number, or if you do want to get them equal, you should compare it to a certain delta. So what you might want to do is say, if number A minus number B, and the absolute value of that is less than like 0.001, then assume that they're equal. And that's kind of how you compare equality with real numbers, because otherwise, generally it's kind of always equal. So that's just a comment on something earlier.
So only 44 people have voted so far in the poll.
So are we taking questions?
Yeah, anybody's got questions. I'm surprised no one actually has any questions about the new rendering engine. This is probably the first meetup that actually hasn't been asked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That Brian just did a very good job with the forums. He had to go and post on the forums about it. And so we're working on fixing lots of bugs and having some more releases hopefully out next week.
Yeah. Yeah, for if there's any Windows users out there that aren't trying out the new RC, we should be having a build out with better support for NVIDIA cards out next week.
And the Mac side, we're fixing crashes. I got 2 crash fixes on the way for next week, and I'm still looking at other crashes. So unfortunately, these crashes are really hard to track down, so it's taking us a lot longer than I would like. Of course, we have the classic here. Ted wants to know all the various updates. Mostly everything, so Ted asked updates on everything, custom fonts, expandable table, limits. So all that stuff is pretty much in the back burner until I can get the crashes squared away on Mac. And Windows has got its issues sorted out.
Yeah.
The big one we were dealing with is NVIDIA cards not working correctly. We got that sorted out almost. And you're getting closer.
Yeah.
We got some niceties on the way. And like I said, Mac, we're dealing with some of those nasty crashes. I think most of the crashes people are hitting on the Mac is the one with the keyboard. If you open the keyboard expression up and use the soft keyboard window, a good time, like 50% of the time it'll crash. I have a fix for that. It'll come out next week. So I'm trying to hunt down the crashes as quick as I can. I don't think it's widespread, but there's certain things you can walk yourself into that we're still just trying to kind of nail down. But so we're working hard making sure we get all those crashes taken care of. So lots of people sell their product to make money. That's a good way to make money. Wait, how these numbers? These numbers don't add up to 100, do they?
No, they don't.
Oh, it's multiple choice. I was gonna say.
Oh, okay. Oh, so these people are selling apps and adding app purchases.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, wait, 64, that's 100. And
I'll turn the video back on here, can we? Oh, okay, there we go. That's not working. Okay. Ted asked, any chances of example projects for real-time movement with pathfinding? I had it working fairly well, but I'm sure what I've done can be greatly improved. Any real-time pathfinding projects?
I haven't had time to do it. I haven't had time to work on it.
Yeah, no, we were pretty busy over here at GameSalad. I don't know anybody else in the audience has tried real-time or doing real-time stuff, but it should just be an issue of putting in the timer or a loop, right? And just
Yeah, rather than having it set up in the demo project that I sent out, where basically things only move in response to user interaction, and then it only moves directly one step. You'd set it on a timer so that they animate to the next cell. Shouldn't be too hard to do, I would think.
Yeah, probably not. Ted believes we shouldn't sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just Steve and I fixing creators, so there's only so many hours a day we can get things done.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Are you using Pathfinder here?
Yeah, I'm still waiting. I think we're still waiting for all the RTSs to come out from you guys.
Yeah. Who can make Diablo first? Or Bowler's Gate. Bowler's Gate would be going. Like, the old classic game one.
You can do something like that, yeah.
Everybody's waiting to use it.
Yeah.
Turn-based strategy. There's actually a really cool turn-based strategy game that I used to play called Deadlock. That was called, I think it's called Deadlock. And yeah, it was like Civilization, but turn-based, like completely turn-based.
Huh.
It reminded me of a lot of those classic the classic bulletin board games back in the day, where you take you get so many options. Basically, what it is like 8 alien races were trying to colonize a planet. And the object of the game was to either wipe out the other alien races or build like 5 city centers. And you got like turn points. And so you could do so many things a turn.
Gotcha.
And so you could either like research technology, you could like I think find resources or build.
Nice.
And everything built took so many turns. So you had to figure out like, oh, this takes 5 turns versus 3 turns, and then you could also make colonizing things to go out and like do other things. And so you played it multiplayer, turn-based. It was they made a sequel to it too.
No one's making any of these. They were like XCOM.
Wow. So you could do something like that now with the multiplayer table, with the networking stuff we have in there.
Yeah.
Awesome. And not much pathfinding, but yeah, you could do something like this stuff.
I noticed one thing that made things a little bit more complex in the demo project here was the fact that you had to change for Team 2. You basically had to take the same actor and then go through and change all the tables to the other table so that they were using I don't know Team 1 on Team 2. I'm wondering if it might be useful to create an attribute type that's a table, so that you could just say, use the table that's stored in this attribute. Because I don't think that should actually be hard to implement.
Yeah, you can do that. I was trying to make a version of this right now, and I used you can look up table by name, I think, and then I just basically Team 1 would just look up table Team 1.
Oh, so instead of putting the table as a drop down, you would actually grab the table by using the table. That might work.
Yeah. Yeah. Do we have a table by name?
Yeah, I think we do. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that actually might be an improvement you can make to the demo there, so that you don't have to keep changing the other actor. You might even be able to get away with effectively 1 actor instead of having 2 or more. Have more than 1.
Unfortunately, I think I just closed that project. So.
Don't.
All my work has been lost.
Yeah. Another thing here's another thing that Steve and I were talking about a couple days ago that might be something interesting to by you guys. We talked about a lot when you're doing development, like code-wise, a lot of times programs will automatically save your code before you actually compile it, or they have to. But we're thinking about adding an auto-save feature or a save feature for when you preview, so that you're automatically forced to save before you preview. I'm not sure what you guys think about that, but that was an idea Steve and I were floating out, we're thinking about.
Interesting. Would you have like branches at that point?
No, we just do a flat save at that point.
Okay.
We might do an option to save or not, but ideally to encourage saving.
Yeah, no.
Because usually while you're previewing, you're ready, you're going to commit your stuff anyway.
Yeah.
And the preview actually saves it that way. So yeah, Ted likes an option that built an autosave. One thing I'd like to enable, but we're going to have to wait, and I just made this do this myself, but I'd like to turn on Apple's autosave, but unfortunately the conflict resolution with copy and paste is broken, so there's issues with trying to copy and paste between the 2 save documents. Yeah, we need to come up with some autosave down the road. Lots of things on the list to do.
Whoa, 75%.
Oh.
Questions are coming very fast.
No, I think we have answered a lot.
okay, that's some kind of marketing, but I am curious if people realize that that's what it is, or if you do that.
Control. That's my new next battle.
Well, that'd be interesting. You can use that. We can have built-in solid light.
Have this. That's that.
Oh, here you go. So Phil asked if pizza was good today. Phil, we did not have pizza. We had Jimmy John's.
Sandwiches.
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 Yeah, for people who don't know who Jimmy John's is, it's very good sandwiches.
Y'all going after Jimmy John's right now?
What?
Isn't the government going after Jimmy John's right now?
Uh-oh.
Leave for making them sign non-competes, Amazon and Jimmy John's, actually.
Mm.
Yeah,
They make
yeah, they make them sign non-competes to Jimmy John's, which just sounds really silly to me.
Yeah, we all decided pizza was probably not the best for all of us, so move to something healthier.
Actually, I was just tired of it.
Well, I started thinking it was a little bit unhealthy stuff.
Like, according to some magazines, pizza is extremely healthy. It has all the major food groups in one, like, convenient package.
Exactly.
I might make that up.
Although a really bad version, like, it's mostly bread and cheese, though, which really lifts you up the least out of it. But for school lunch purposes, it's a vegetable.
Yeah, I think we still don't have any questions. Seems that we have answered well.
Wow, more people are voting now.
Oh, that's good.
Whoa. Someone spent more than a year on their last game.
Wow, that's impressive.
And someone spent less than a week on their last game. That's also impressive.
Yeah, like, it's impressive, too.
Like, anyone want to tell us what those particular games were?
I'm seeing anything.
Yeah, looks like we may be able to go home early soon.
I don't know, questions? Everybody's happy with things? A few things in the forums I'm looking at. So.
Yeah, James, we'll be posting it up as usual.
Yep, I'll try to get that.
I think we post the YouTube video link on the thread every month.
Yep.
And there is a
YouTube
channel there is a playlist on our YouTube channel that has
Yes. And there's lots of good stuff up there. There are a lot of good videos up there.
All right. Fajitas and tacos win by far.
Wow. So that's what I have to do to get people to come. I gotta get fajitas. Man, if I had only known. If I had only known.
Here's something about the
Sizzling.
sizzling.
It does bring you, when somebody hears sizzling, someone got fajitas at the table. That's true.
We eat with more than just our mouths. We have eyes and ears. You gotta stimulate all the senses. Nose, smell.
Apparently Francis worked on a small game with UDK.
I've seen some really interesting projects in Unreal Engine lately. I'm just like, I kind of want to try that, but my computer would never run it.
It's the hard thing to get you really want to run games on. You got to get the computer to run them.
Yeah.
Games, there's a reason why games heat up like.
Yeah.
Wait. Oh, interesting.
What?
We've closed this poll. We can talk about it.
Okay. Trying to focus on a smaller game.
So,
Time is hard. Okay.
someone said no. They did not like content of these meetups.
Oh no.
You can come up with your own content and tell us what you want to present. Then you could be happy. Challenge. Go for it.
Yeah, because otherwise you guys can listen to me talk, and while I have things to talk about, I think I've gone through most of them for the year. I think I'm up to 3 presentations this year, so I'm always looking for people to talk on different interesting topics, or you have a cool template that you've made, or a cool feature. Or we could start bringing in, try to get some more beginner people in. We could do talks about how we go through attributes, and we could start at the beginning of GameSalad and go through all the various pieces of it.
Well, this might change things for some of it, because this is the fastest I've ever seen anyone vote on a topic.
Wow.
We're 30 seconds in at 75% vote.
Wow. Yeah.
Someone thinks we're not done yet.
They just want more.
More what?
All right. Well, of course, I'm always. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys who are in other countries where it's really early or really late coming to meetups, because I know that's hard to get up at. Ted saying it's 2:17 a.m. where he is. So I appreciate that, and like I said, it's hard for us because we're almost the opposite time of like Europe and such. But I'd love to have their meetups start there, but I know it's hard to get a group together sometimes. So, but let me know if you guys want to start a meetup group in another country or another state. We'll help facilitate some of that by I'll let you guys use our meetup page on meetup.com, and we can help with other things here and there. No financial help. But we can offer, we can help with some of that kind of stuff, facilitating like presenters or whatnot, or if you need one of us to Skype into it, we can offer something like that. So, yeah, definitely. One more here. Can you guys tell us, can you tell who answered the poll?
No, we can't.
No, I can't. Well, I can after the meetup, but I don't know during the meetup. So.
Even split between admon and troopers.
Wow. All right. Well, unless you got anything, Tan, I'm going to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Last poll here.
We're up.
Yeah. Anybody still on here? Last poll, and then we'll end this. Straight alcohol for my poll.